it. Oh. Jane, are we live? An error. Wait a moment and then try again. Okay, hold on. Let me just bring Jane up. Okay, we're live. Yeah? Okay, awesome. We're live. Okay, great. Awesome. Thanks, Jane, for your help. So it's Wednesday. I'm really excited to be back. Okay, I'm getting these messages. Hold on. Oh, it's because of the other platforms. All right, got it. So we're live today. It's Wednesday. I'm back. I'm April. It's the Positive Effect. And I'm really excited today to talk to Karim. Karim has had a long career in retail, so we're going to get into it in a minute, Karim. I'm really excited to talk to you. So, you know, why do we have this conversation every Wednesday? We've been on air now, I think, about 2 months. It's quite some time now, and it's really to feature retail leaders that have had a positive effect on the business and those they lead. And you know, I'm so excited about this after working in retail for 25 years. I wrote a book called The Positive Effect, and it's all about the positive effect of a leader and what that leader can do. And so today we're going to pick Karim's brain. We're going to talk to him about his story, and we're going to, you know, ask you a ton of questions and just have a real organic conversation. And so I'm super excited that you're here, and hopefully the universe is going to help us with this live stream, so I don't have to talk about myself for half an hour. So welcome.
Thanks. Lovely to be here. Awesome to be here, to see you, to see everyone, and connect. Yeah.
And you're a fellow Brit.
Yes. Fellow British, even though my ethnicity is Moroccan, but Britain, England, UK.
Yeah, that's so awesome. So Karim, just to get us started, can you tell us about your story in retail? I looked at your LinkedIn profile. We connected probably, I don't know, a year ago when, you know, on the Retail U platform and just through LinkedIn, which is this is why I love LinkedIn, because connect with people from all over the world. But if you want to get started and share your story, our viewers, well, you've been watching us and you're part of the Retail U community, but you know who they are. It's all usually generally sales and operations leaders that want to learn from us. So just share your story so that we can learn more
Yeah.
about you.
So basically, I was the kind of the kid that went from humble part-time Saturday kid in the House of Fraser in a store called Kendall's in Manchester, before there was Selfridges, before there was Harvey Nichols, and really progressed through the ranks to become a big Charlie, big time Charlie manager in the Middle East, managing 135 stores, 3 brands, 3 countries. It was absolutely awesome.
Well, give us a bit. Well, that you're being very humble there, because you're like, yeah, I started as a part time, but like, walk us through how that happened, because I think it's really important. There's a lot of people in our community that don't see retail. Well, there's people in our community see retail as a real career, but a lot of people don't see retail as a real career. So I love bringing people on like you, like me, that have had like this successful career. So go back and slow down. We've got half an hour. I'm going to ask you more questions, but slow down a bit. So how did that happen? Like, how did you get your first job in retail?
Yeah, so basically, I was at Manchester Uni, and obviously, I needed uni going out kind of money and stuff. So I started working in retail in Kendall's in Manchester. I applied for the position and had an interview, and it was my first interview, and it was the most worst, horrific interview you've ever seen. I was the quiet boy at school, the kind of kid that would only put his hand up if 100% I knew the answer, and then I got asked to go to this interview. And they were saying, like, what skills have you got, like, and what difference can you make, and what impact can you have on the business and stuff like that. And I was kind of like, I'm really friendly, I smile a lot, and this kind of stuff. And then basically, when I was there, I was really inspired by the store manager. She's called Kathy Needham, who then went to become one of the store managers of Selfridges. And I was in the men's formal wear department, and it was really cool. It was a really cool time in Manchester. Like, David Beckham was playing for United, and he would
Yeah.
come into the store every week and stuff like that. And I was on the
Wow.
designer area, folding the clothes and keeping them all nice and tidy and stuff. And she really just inspired me. I think it's for me, retail's all about people. And she was that inspiration. Like, the store was like a massive store, a bit like Macy's, like with 6 floors, 7 floors. But she would always walk in. She had big air, big presence. She won loads of awards in the region. And I just thought, wow, one day I want to be her. So it kind of started from there, really.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool. It's usually one person, right, in our career that's really inspired us. So you basically got a part-time job and then grew your career
Yeah,
just through that
I,
one person inspiring you.
I was one of those kids that went to university and didn't really know what I wanted to do. I kind of went to university for my parents to make them happy. And then, but as I got into retail, I found that I really loved it. It was the energy of the store. Like it was a really cool department. They kind of had like a guy with DJ decks and stuff like that. And just there was a really good vibe, and it was always really busy. Obviously a lot busier than it kind of is now.
Yeah.
But there was great energy and stuff, and I just wanted to be there. It was like a cool chill out place, and it didn't feel like work. This is another thing about retail. Like when you hang out with cool people and there's a good vibe and the store music's going and you've got your sales targets and everything's going on the floor, it's just really powerful, and you just want to be there. And I was kind of like,
Yeah.
I'm getting paid to be in this cool environment. Let's have some more. And then when I graduated and decided, because I'd stayed at home for uni, I went to London and I ended up working in Harrods. Now, Harrods for me was like the best store
Wow.
in the world. Like it was like, how do I even get a job in Harrods? I just went there and I applied. I told them I worked in House of Fraser. That's kind of linked to Harrods in a historical sense. And they were like,
Yeah.
yeah, cool. Come on board. Again, worked in men's formal wear. And Harrods was like unbelievable. Like, Michael Jackson went there when I was there. Madonna went there when I was there. And it was just phenomenal. Like, I was selling like expensive suits. So like suit jackets were like, I don't know, £15,000, Brioni and stuff like that.
Wow.
And the level of service and how immaculate, and retail is detail, right? They
Right.
wouldn't they wouldn't even let you in the store if you weren't shaved, if you weren't clean shaven like this. They were kind of like, go home and get changed. So I
Wow.
really kind of learned my trade and learned about predominantly selling, the art of selling. I used to think I was a good salesman before I got to Harrods, but then I found that there were like sharks who would kind of say to me, Karim,
Yeah.
look over there, go and tidy that. And they steal the customer and steal the sale. I was like, wow, okay, that's how it is. So then obviously I had to adapt. So
That's amazing. So then after Harrods, you went where?
So from Harrods, I got homesick, missed my family. My sister found me a job interview for Selfridges, it was.
Okay.
And basically, Selfridges were just opening up in the Trafford Centre. It was new for Manchester. They only had one store in London. They were, broadening their horizons, opening up a store in Manchester. I walked into a recruitment presentation, and then Kathy Needham, the store manager that I'd seen him all my life, that I thought, wow, she's the big thing, the person I want to emulate. I walked in. I was actually late from the train in London. I got into the presentation. He went, "Hi, Karim," and I was like, "Oh, cool." So I sat down. Then I had an interview. Became men's formal wear team leader. Did this whole store setup. Oh my God, store setups like the adrenaline rush of like setting up the Trafford Centre was the biggest shopping mall in Europe at the time. We were the like
Amazing.
big thing feature presentation of that period as well. So that was just an awesome experience. And actually, then I overcame a lot of my fears about public speaking. So before then, I was like I told you, I was very quiet kind of guy. And I think retail, it really brings people out of their shell,
It
and that's
really
what it did for
does.
me. Like I had 1 week of training, and then the next week, I was actually training people who'd been in retail for 35 years. Kind of thinking to myself, oh my God, they know so much more than me. How come I'm training them? But it really worked in my favor. And yeah, I really loved training. And then I went to work in HR in Selfridges for 2 years, doing training and development. And again, that was really motivational. We won the Investors in People Award.
Wow.
I learned so much skills. We did MVQs, which was very paper based and stuff. But again, it gave good credibility to the store. So that was fantastic. Worked there for 4 years, uh, 4 or 5 years, and then I moved on to work for a company called Office Shoes.
I worked at
And
Office Shoes.
really,
I was working in the one in South Molton Street. Yeah, that was one of my first part-time sales jobs when I was like
Yeah.
18, my first job in London. Yeah.
So then I went to work in Harvey Nichols, selling the high end
Yeah.
of office shoes, which is Post. And again, that was an amazing experience. Totally different in terms of like it was much more quieter than Selfridges.
Hmm.
But when you got your customers, again, it was the footballers. You had to convert, you had to make them buy things. And it was a different kind of pressure, but really fun. And again, I worked there for 2 years and then got recruited on the shop floor for Aldo, who kind of came in and was like, "Oh, do you want to go for coffee?" And I was like, "Really? Um, is this coffee or is this a date or what's going on?" But then I went to work for Aldo, and I've been working for them for the last 13 years, which is
Wow.
phenomenal. Started off as a store manager in the Trafford Centre, well, assistant store manager actually, which was kind of ironic because at the time I was like, why should I join Aldo when Office are a bigger company? Not
Right.
knowing that Aldo are actually the bigger company who are multinational and stuff like that. Um, and then, yeah, really progressed through the ranks. I'd worked in the Trafford Centre for 10 years. Now, this is like a really good
Wow.
lesson for people. 10 years in one store, patience is a virtue. I was offered promotion after promotion in London to be a store manager again. But every time they came to me knocking on the door for promotion, I was having a baby. So I've got 4 girls and I had three of
Wow.
them like 3 years apart. And every time they came knocking on my door, it's kind of like, I'm having a baby, can't do. Having a baby, can't do. And subliminally, maybe I was in my comfort zone.
Mm,
And one of the best learnings I had, they were kind of telling me, like, obviously, my dream was to become a regional manager. And everything I was doing was trying to prove that I'm the best, that I'm the go to guy, that I could be a regional manager. Until one time, it was coming up to 8 years. And then I got a general manager visit from, like, the GM of Aldo himself, came
right.
to the store and basically said, you either need to change your behavior or we're going to change you. And I was kind of like, really? And what he meant by that was obviously I'd won manager of the year and stuff, but
Hmm.
you can become static and you can
Mm,
become blinkered. And he
mm.
just said to me, like, as we all love you, but you become blinkered. So you now need to change your perception. They've got this competition called Club Elite, which is for the top 1% of performers worldwide. And he said to me, yes, you've brought on people and they've won Club Elite, but as a store and as a team, you've not won it. So why?
Wow.
Why not? And then what I really realized then was, and this is probably my biggest learning in retail. I'm talking about management,
Yeah.
was that I was very Karim centric. So it wasn't that I was selfish. It was just that like I did everything that I tried to be. I tried to make sure my recruitment was the best, my paperwork was the best, the health and safety was the best, the KPI was the best. But I was kind of thinking about me and improving myself
Mm,
rather than improving the team. And the second, like I had that experience and focused on the team and really developed them, it was a game changer for me, and my career just went from strength to strength. And then I was offered an international role in Saudi Arabia, managing like 135 stores, looking after Saudi, Egypt, Jordan. So all this time I'd wanted promotion and I kept knocking on my regional manager's door every day, like, I want to get promoted, I want a pay rise, I want to get like every year it was like they were kind of I thought they were fobbing me off. But then they came to me and I'd won this international competition twice on the bounce, which nobody's ever done before in the UK.
okay.
It's called Club Elite, and it is almost impossible to win it. Like there's 35 store managers, they are ultra competitive. They've all got their A game. You've got to hit every single KPI in terms of conversion, your add-on sales, your handbags, how the store looks, how you recruit, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Almost impossible. And I did it twice in a row, which never been done before. And for that, in terms of reward management, and this is what I really want to say about retail reward management, they used to take the top two performers in each category. So the top two managers, the top two assistant managers, the top two sales leads, etc. And that really worked well because people were ultra competitive. They all wanted to win. And when you won big. You got like a free trip to Canada, 5-star, all expenses paid. you'd go to the head office. The head office is the size of like the
Yeah,
traffic
I've been
control.
to their office.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing. On red carpet, Mr. Aldo and all the top executives are clapping you in, and you walk from there into the presentation hall, um, basically on red carpet.
Mm.
Then you walk in, and then they just, they nominate you for Manager of the Year and stuff like that. It's like a life-changing experience. Thankfully, a regional manager I worked with, he was kind of like, "You're going to be so humbled by this, so that when you get there, just have the right mindset. Otherwise, you're going to freeze, and you're going to be in overwhelm and all that kind of stuff." So I really, like to thank him. And it was absolutely amazing. You go there, and then they send you for a week, like to the. I think I went to Punta Cana the first time, and the second time was the Dominican Republic,
Amazing.
and it was just absolutely unbelievable. When I was there, this is how lucky of a guy and blessed I am. I got interviewed on the beach subconsciously because they've got the best of the best there.
Right.
That's where they source their regional managers and national managers and all that kind of stuff, because they kind of think that to be in the top 1%, you're already walking the talk, if you like.
Mm.
And that's where I got sourced and interviewed subconsciously for this Saudi position. So
I
amazing
think,
experience.
you know what? I love what you're sharing because, I remember when I wanted to get promoted and I was doing that, pick me, pick me, pick me. And it was all about me. And then when I realized it was all about the team and impacting and like improving my team, that's what really changed the game for me too. And I think that this is really important for a lot of managers, field leaders to actually hear that, because salespeople, natural salespeople, are driven by recognition of having results, right? If you're a results driven leader, and you can get stuck in your own way in that place. Whereas when you grow in the food chain in retail and you're managing like 120 stores, or 200 stores, or even 10 stores, you can't be in that store every day like you were before. It can't be about you. It has to be about everybody else, right? Like, so
Yeah,
that's such a big lesson for people to learn, if they want to grow in their retail career. And I hear that time and a time. There is no shortcut, going through the ranks, doing your time. And I think what's really impressive to me is 10 years in one store. That's really hard because you've got to reinvent yourself. There's a lot of people that hop from store to store. And I'm not saying don't do that, but when you have to reinvent yourself in your own store over
yeah.
and over again, I think that is even harder, right?
It was a major challenge because, like I had done one store, another store in Leeds, and I found it quite easy. When you go to a different store, you're kind of like a different person, and you're ultra competitive because you're like, I'm going to smash the figures that were built here. But when you're going up, like in the store that I worked in, I'd broken the records, I won Manager of the Year, and to still have that energy and drive and enthusiasm, and to build like one team after another team after another team, it was like it does get to a point where kind of like you've been there and you
Mm.
not demotivated, but like what next?
Yeah.
But yeah, really learning a lot, and really learning that you need to listen more rather
Yeah, I was
than
gonna
talk.
I was gonna ask you that. So I know I had a list of questions and we haven't gone through those questions, but this is awesome because you're sharing so many great nuggets. But like, how has your leadership changed and evolved over time? You talked a little bit about it right now, right? How when you realized it wasn't just about you, it was about the team. But even growing beyond that, your store and having that moment, how did your leadership evolve over time? People ask me that question all the time, and I think it's a great question to ask leaders so that other people can learn from you.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely becoming a lot more strategic. And what I mean by that is having the right people, recruiting the right people. When I was a younger manager, I used to think, oh, I'm an amazing manager. I can change people. And if this person's amazing in selling and he's like got a poor attitude, I can work on that. I can work on it. But the the more I've worked in retail, the more I've kind of like not tried to change people and taken them at face value. And then also in terms of becoming strategic, like looking ahead. So as a store manager, even when you get to a store manager level, you kind of like, okay, this week's in the bag, you're going to make the target. What
Yeah.
about next week? What about the week after? And the more higher up you go in the ranks, is what about the succession plan? What about next season? What's new? What's exciting? Making sure that all the departments are coherently talking to each other and stuff like that. So
Oh,
learn.
yeah. Okay. We lost you for a minute, so hopefully it's not going to freeze again. You're back. Yay! Nice to see you guys in the chat. Lisa, Darlene, Omar. Omar said, Karim Doukir you're a legend and an inspiration. You've got a fan base following you
Oh,
around.
that's nice.
That's
Thank you, Omar.
awesome. So, okay, what did you, this is a question that people always ask us at Retail U, what did you look for when you were growing your career? I mean, you were with one brand for a really long time, and you said a lot of it, you stayed where you were because you had your family and you prioritized that. But, along the way, you wanted to grow. So what were you looking for along that path to grow your career? And what advice would you give people that want to do the same thing?
Yeah, I was always looking and aiming for perfection. I worked with some amazing leaders, and they were amazing in different aspects. So I worked with an amazing, visual lady who was like, I think, the best in the world. So I just tried to take from every single manager the best of the best, and going for the big brands, like working in Selfridges, working in Harrods, working in Harvey Nichols. It's kind of like you take the best of each of them and kind of make it your own formula and stuff. So that was my thing, especially in training development, and I think that's really important, um, for sure.
What about like challenges? Can you share like a challenge that you had to overcome? I know we have lots of challenges in retail. Sometimes it's a sales goal, sometimes it's a piece of feedback that we had to kind of digest. Sometimes it's just the product line, whatever it is. But what's a challenge that you had to overcome, Karim? And if you can share that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I've had a few in my career. One of the challenges, like in Aldo, was basically that they are ultra intense and high intensity. So that if everywhere else was kind of more laid back, all
Okay.
the other department stores I'm talking about, but Aldo would take you and push you in a positive way to reach 100%. If you got 90%, or I'll give you an example. Like let's say you had an amazing sales day and you beat your target, by 200%, they would still come to you and they'd look at the weakest aspect of that day and say to you, you could have made more money if you would have upsold this or you would have upsold that. And that mindset for me was really difficult because it was like they were never satisfied.
Okay.
Um, but then it would really improve your game, so much so that you could always like aim for perfection every single time. And it also made you really thick-skinned, in terms of they would give you like criticism about your image. You don't look on brand today. You look tired today. Like they would give you direct feedback, and that from that feedback you usually learn more than from just positive praise. It's like when we had regional manager visits, to get 100% or to get 90%, literally the store would have to be perfect, and the standards would have to be perfect, and that's something that I really learned. Like they come in and look at the store, and there'd be a light bulb missing, and they'd be like, "Do I need to come all the way from Canada, man? Change your light bulb? Are you serious?" And it was so funny, but it really made you understand the big picture of retail. Retail is detail. You've gotta have the whole. You've got to be the full person, not just be great at selling or not just be good with paperwork. Usually in retail, people have got one amazing asset and they kind of
Mm-hmm.
stick to that. But I learned within the Aldo concept to be good at everything and never to drop the ball. They would often say, "You dropped the ball, man. Front of house is amazing, but the stock room, it's out for lunch." And I'm like, okay.
I
And
mean,
that's
I share a story in my book about that when I had a store manager called Julie Gogol. I'm going to say the last name wrong because I always call her Google, but it's not, it's Gogol. When I was in Florida, and I remember her giving me some feedback about my closing checklist, and she was like, you're like, when you want to get promoted, you keep asking to have your own store, but like, you can't even do the closing checklist and get like the banking things signed off right? Like it's the detail of it. And in my mind, I was like, but I'm so good with people and customers, and I'm the best floor leader, and I'm the best coach. And she was like, but when you get promoted, April, she's like, you want everybody on this team to support you. You don't want them to be able to say, well, why did she get it and I didn't get it, when I'm working just as hard as her and she's not doing, the details of things 100%. And that was a wake-up call for me, because details is not my thing. I mean, visual merchandising details, that's a whole nother story. I am a really good visual merchandiser, but like the paperwork admin side was not my thing. And then I thought, well, yeah, if I want to expect others, so if I take a store now and I have to expect others to do it, I better step up my game and actually check, cross my T's, dot my I's, and be really good at that. And so it was to me, a very small thing, but to her, it was a big thing. It changed my perspective completely, that conversation. And it hurt a little bit because I was like, it's just a checklist. But I was like, no, she was right, and I write about that in the book. Those details are so important, right?
Yeah, and when I won that second club elite, which was probably my proudest moment for the team, was that everybody was working in tandem, and that's what I liked about it. You don't have to be the best person at everything, but together collectively, the team all support and all work together, and that's really really powerful. When you've got that vibrancy and yeah, the diversification in the store, it's fantastic.
100%. You've answered a lot of my questions, actually, which is awesome. But you obviously felt extremely proud of winning Club Elite.
Yeah.
Sounds like you had a very, very proud moments. But I always ask this question because there's so many awards that we win. There's so many things on our resume when people look at it that they're like, stand out to people, especially when you're like interviewing and you're sharing different stories about what you've accomplished. But is there another time that you can say that you're really, really proud of, and what that was?
I mean, my biggest success in my career, which what I'll say now, is that when I was in Saudi Arabia, which is a whole new universe, it was kind of like, forget what you've learned in the UK, forget retail as you know it, like almost go back in time. Not go back in time in terms of the stores, they were like ahead of the UK. You'd be shocked. It's like New York, Manhattan, like Fifth Avenue kind of standards. But what happened there was we went through a phase of nationalization. So within 1 month, and I mean within 1 month, we had to change the team from an entire male team, right, who'd been there 12, 15 years, from people from the Indian subcontinent and the Philippines, to a team of ladies who had never, ever left the house before. Right?
Wow.
And it was like, it was wow, it was like feminization, women's power on a different level. And in terms of the culture difference, people were coming to interviews with their little babies. Like it was like, this is totally different. Like I'd never seen anything like it in my life, and we had to do that within a month. I'm talking 2,000 employees, and just going through that, obviously it was very difficult. People were losing their jobs. People had to go back to their countries and their livelihoods and stuff like that. But at the same time, the female empowerment that happened there, people like one of the managers that after 1 year, she won Club Elite, that I'd obviously recruited and helped. And for me, that was the greatest moment, like taking someone who didn't know anything about retail, and I mean nothing, to make them a store manager of the year, like within 1 year. That was absolutely phenomenal. Like how the business even survived to this day, I don't know the complexities of it, like from a HR perspective, etc. Like it was unbelievably complicated, but we stuck at it. We helped. It was actually, check this one out. It was actually illegal for me as a male to go into the store. Yeah, I had to kind of manage the store remotely and give them kind of sneak in there as a customer and give them advice and stuff like that. It was unbelievable, but an amazing period. Women were able to drive in that year in Saudi, and it was just like a revolution happened, and a positive revolution that I'll never forget.
What an amazing experience and time in history to be part of in a country and in retail, the industry that we love so much, right? Like that's
It was like like Aldo and the brand partner, the franchisee in Saudi. They won like female empowerment awards left, right, and center, and it was an amazing experience. Like to this day, you know, what they've achieved, and what the females that have come on board, and just, they're all in management positions. They all know what they're doing. The VM was maintained. Like, you cannot believe how successful the whole thing was. And it's just wow. It's the wow of the wow.
Well, that speaks to leadership, though, right? Your leadership, and that's why you've
Yeah,
had
I mean,
so much success, because leadership really, really matters. It really
yeah,
does.
for sure. And it was a big team. Obviously, like, HR was involved. There was lots of male managers with lots of experience, and they got the strategy right. The goods in, the goods out. There was like male teams that were going in when the store was closed, like little elves, like helping the visuals and all that kind of stuff. It took a lot of work, an unbelievable amount of work. But to get through that, like, coming back to the UK, I'm kind of thinking, okay, yeah, I can do anything now. Like,
Right, right,
no
right.
challenge.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so we're coming up on time. So my last question for you really is, what advice would you give a retail manager or a leader today if they, find this in our feed, or they're listening to this, or they're looking at your career, looking at my career, and they want to progress in retail? What advice would you give them to be successful? Because retail's definitely changed, right? When we started, we didn't have e-com, we had more foot traffic in the stores, so it's definitely evolved over time. But what advice would you give them?
Definitely surround yourself with winners. The team that you have, and I think even more so as we go forward, has to be productive. They have to be amazing, and they have to have the right attitude. If you can hire, train, recruit, get that positive vibe in the store, now we need to convert, more than ever, because of the onset of e-com and stuff, and go back to the retail basis of giving that amazing customer service, listening to the customer, not just trying to sell you products, but really meeting the needs of the customer, and go back to the old school in terms of total customer service. Make it amazing. Do things that e-com or online can't. That touchy feely, that making people feel good, all that kind of stuff, and surrounding yourself with awesome people, because everyone has a bad day, but when you're down, the store concepts of like being your second family or being the home from home, that's really, really important, as well as the whole wellness thing and the positive energy and training, developing, and really giving back to your people. I really believe in service leadership, and I think that every leader should be a service leader, so that when you're there to service your team really appreciate you, and they will do anything for you, no matter how big the challenge is.
Yeah, 100%. I think that if you get up every day, a leader told me this a long time ago. He was a regional director of mine in Florida when I worked at Banana. And he said, when you go home every day, you have to ask yourself, what are your team saying about you at the dinner table? Because how they talk about you is how they show up every day. And their
Yeah,
family are actually having an impact on how they show up every day as well to work for you. And that was a really big lesson. So every time I would go home, I would think about that. And I'd think about how, you know, I mean, there's so many complexities, right? Like from training to, like you said, retails in the details. But at the end of the day, how your team performs when you're not around is really important. And
yeah,
also, what you said, what I'm taking away from talking to you today is you can't change people. I am so optimistic. In the beginning of my career, I really believed I could change people, right? And you can't. It doesn't mean to say that you don't have an optimistic attitude towards others, and it doesn't mean to say that you don't see the best in them. But you can guide and train and encourage and empower. But at the end of the day, you got to surround yourself with winners, like you said, Kareem. And I always recruited from Aldo. Like when I was, because, I've been in Canada for the last 16 years now, just moved to the US, but I always recruited from Aldo because they had such great service and great training. And
yeah,
their standards were high, man. Like those managers had a lot of resilience working there.
yeah.
I
And
had
there's
people
three.
on my team.
Sorry to cut you. There's three main qualities: like cool, worldly, and passionate. And it's retail is all about personality. Someone without personality, uh, I don't think that they will struggle in retail on the shop floor. And that's for me what I always look for: attitude, personality. Then obviously you can train the ability and stuff like that. But if they've got the
Yeah.
right attitude, if they can bring their A game every single day, that's the person you need to have in your store, giving that
Hmm.
vibrancy and just making it an amazing place.
Yeah, you got to like people, right?
Yeah, totally.
Customers walk in. Sometimes me and Jane go shopping and we're like, they really should be working retail because they don't act like they
Yeah,
like people. I
yeah,
mean, leadership matters. The positive effect of a leader can ignite a team. I've seen that over and over again when I've changed managers out or hired new people. You can see a team change. So leadership does matter. But thank you so much,
it's been
Karim. This was
awesome.
such a great conversation and learning about everything that you've learned in retail and passing on that wisdom to our audience and our viewers. So I can't thank you enough.
My pleasure.
Um, and good luck with everything you're doing now. I know that you're doing coaching now and you can
Yeah,
find, right? That's what you're up to now.
coaching is the way forward. Yeah, invest in your people, make them
Yeah.
live their dreams, and it's going to happen.
Yeah. So if you want to find Karim, you can follow him on LinkedIn. And if you find this post and you found this really interesting and you work in retail, share it with your retail network. Share it with as many people as you can, because we are going to continue to keep bringing this conversation every week on the positive effect, featuring amazing retail leaders like Karim. So I just want to say thanks to everybody for joining, and we're signing off and we'll see you next week.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks, April. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.